Welcome to this episode of Cobb and Company, the podcast of the Montague Cobb Health Institute, being recorded live at the National Medical Association Annual Convention in New York. The Cobb and Company podcast series explores themes such as health disparities research, workforce diversity, and inclusive clinical research. My name is Dr. Christina E. and I am the Director of Operations for the Cobb Institute. When it comes to increasing diversity and representation in the healthcare workforce, mentorship is key. A strong mentoring relationship can be transformational. In today's episode, we have invited guests in the early stages of their careers to share with us some of their experiences so far, particularly the impact of mentors. Joining me on the podcast for this discussion are London Wheeler and Carrington Boyer. London, where and what are you studying?
Well, I am studying to be a doctor of osteopathic physician. If you don't know what a DO is, DOs are the same as an MD. We just have a little extra oomph in it. Basically, we study the OMM aspects, and I am studying that at Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine, the Georgia campus, and I am a third year.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing. And Carrington, where and what are you studying?
So I'm a recent graduate of Howard University. I graduated with a degree in honors interdisciplinary studies with a concentration in bioethics.
Excellent. And what has been your experience thus far here at the 2024 National Medical Association Annual Meeting and Scientific Conference, London?
Well, this has been such a surreal moment. Because I've been to the Student National Medical Association where you're among your peers and we're all achieving the same goal. But just being in a room filled with everybody who you want to be is just so inspiring and so motivating. And it's like, wow, I'm going to be there soon.
Indeed. And you, Carrington?
I think it's absolutely beautiful because I've never experienced something like this before. Just seeing where I could be, especially with having kind of an unconventional degree, especially with the past dream of wanting to be a doctor, I think is absolutely amazing for me to be able to get this opportunity as a recent graduate.
Yes. Can you tell us a little bit, Carrington, about bioethics and what the academic path is for that? Do you have to get your doctorate?
You don't have to get your doctorate, but it's typically a doctorate degree or it's usually a master's. So having a bachelor's in it is not very common. And even at Howard, it's a new degree. So yeah, you can kind of curate what you want to do since it's interdisciplinary. So if you want to go more into politics, you can take more poli-sci classes, or if you want to do more healthcare, you're still taking philosophy classes. But yeah, so basically bioethics is about addressing moral dilemmas within healthcare. So you can kind of figure out what you want to do with that, or you can just stay simple and take more philosophy classes so you learn about arguments and how to address them and how to break them down so you can be more detail oriented and know how to just tackle certain situations.
Wonderful. What inspired you to pursue a career in bioethics?
Actually, well, before I wanted, like I said before, I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a nephrologist specifically because I shadowed some healthcare professionals before, and I want to be a nephrologist. But I struggled so bad with Chem 2, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. So I kind of switched my major. I made my major my minor because of the credits. And then my mom actually found interdisciplinary studies, and yeah, she was like, oh, you should bioethics because you're still interested in healthcare and wanting to help people. So she was like, oh, this sounds like something you want to do. And I was very thankful for her because I was so focused on trying to pass Chem 2. So yeah.
Interesting. So she found an alternate path. That's wonderful. London, were there any mentors or experiences that significantly influenced your path?
Yes. So I've actually been blessed with so many people in my life. It really does take your village. So originally I was impacted by my mom and her journey. So she was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2014, which caused her heart to fail. So she had congestive heart failure, then a heart transplant, caused her kidney to fail. So then she had a kidney transplant, and then she passed. But throughout her journey, she was always an advocate for herself, an advocate for her health. She made sure that all of her doctors were all on the same team, communicating. If something wasn't right, she fought for her. And then also too, as I got into this level, I've come in contact with so many influence, like my professor who's here today, Dr. Fairley. She's always motivating me. Dr. Crockett Woods is a pediatrician at CHOA, which is the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, and she's always pushing me. She, especially during boards time, because I didn't know what to do, how to study, and she was just there encouraging me and telling me that I could do it. And that really allowed me to keep going. And then also my grandparents, like my dad, they're always there.
Wonderful, wonderful. It's been a pleasure having you with us at the Cobb Institute during the conference. How did you find out about the Cobb Institute, London?
Well, I found out about the Cobb Institute through Dr. Price. Dr. Price is actually one of our professors at South Georgia, which was PCOM has 3 campuses, and South Georgia is one, and he's a professor there. And so he asked us, hey, do you want to come to this conference? I was like, sure. And then just interacting with him, I became more and more like involved and intrigued about the Cobb Institute. Like I used to receive emails back in high school, undergrad. I was like, what is the Cobb Institute? But now, like just connecting with Dr. Price and being here, I've realized like, wow, like the Cobb Institute focuses on diversity, inclusion, anti-racism, and really bridging the gap between not seeing us in medicine, because we already make up less than 5% in the overall like medical professional field, and in research even less. And so I just love how the Cobb Institute is here and just allowing us to be the face of research.
Outstanding. And Carrington, how did you find out about the Cobb Institute?
So I attended a health fair at Zion Baptist Church in DC because of my connection to a center called GUTS that's at Howard. And they Miss Gonzalez focused on community engagement. So she invited me there in order to learn what it looks like in real time, to talk to people about clinical research trials. And while I was there, a member of the church, but also a member of Cobb Institute, Dr. Brown, introduced me to Dr. Morgan. And she was just like, oh, you have the same like values and like interests. So like, do this. And so I also connected to Miss Malik, and I just stayed with like her and talked to her. And she allowed me this opportunity to be here.
Fantastic. So both of you have mentioned your village, your families, the mentors, your mothers that were influential in guiding your path. What do you think are some qualities for a mentor who, isn't necessarily familiar or, in your circle to have to make an effective mentor for you? Carrington?
Oh, me? Okay. I don't know, just their willingness to learn and be interested. Because my grandma, she's like, girl, I don't know nothing about no bioethics. She's like, what are you talking about? And then I told her about my particular interest in diversity and inclusion for clinical research trials, and also with AI. She was just like, oh, that's what. And so she would call me sometimes. She'd be like, Carrington, I read this random article about AI, like this, that, and the third. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. Like, and she's a reader. She said she's more of a historian. So she was just like, oh, I read this. And then she also got in, like she's participating in a clinical research trial also. So I was like, oh, that's really cool. So, just random interest and like mentioning things that sound familiar is also really cool.
Excellent. And London?
Oh, the qualities that for a mentor, I would say somebody who can listen, because your mentees are going to come with questions and help. And so just listening to their problems and what they're going through, and then also giving advice on how to conquer those problems, because we literally went through the journey. As a mentor, you've gone through it. And so why allow your mentee to struggle when you've already done it? And so you can give as many tips and tricks, and hopefully they listen. They say you take them to the water, but you can't make them drink it. But majority of the time, I just feel like they will listen. And as long as you are encouraging, you're motivating, you're captivating them. Those are the lines that my dad would say: encourage, motivate, captivate, because it really just allows them to feel comfortable and you feel safe. because at the end of the day, like, you're sharing like vulnerable parts of you. And so as a mentor, you should be able to create that safe haven and allow them to feel comfortable in your arms.
Excellent. What advice would you give to young professionals seeking mentors in the healthcare industry, and how can they build meaningful mentor-mentee relationships?
Oh. Just putting yourself out there, like, because they're there, like, they want to help, but you have to put yourself out there. I remember meeting my mentor, Dr. Crockett Woods. Like, she came to our school just to talk about her journey. And I was like, ooh, I relate to everything you went through. And so I had to leave to study for class, and I just left her a note. And I was like, hey, would you like to be my mentor? And here's my number. And then I just folded it and left it in her seat. And then we contacted and we connected ever since, because that's the way to build bridges. And then just reaching out both ways, because, your mentor is busy. As a mentee, you're busy, but you need help. So, closed mouths don't get fed. And so you have to be able to also be real with yourself and be like, okay, I'm struggling. Like, I need to ask for help. And then the mentor allowing them to give that help, no matter how it comes. Sometimes you need the harsh truth and reality. You may not like it, but at least you're open and willing to be a sponge to receive it.
Excellent. And then, Carrington, what advice would you give young professionals seeking mentors in the healthcare industry, and how can they build meaningful mentor-mentee relationships?
I would definitely echo everything that London just said. Like, literally, closed mouths don't get fed. My mom would say that. Also, don't tell yourself no before you allow someone else, tell you no. So don't disqualify yourself. Like she said, put yourself out there. You never know what could happen. Like, I never thought I would be in New York. Like, it's really crazy what you can like find out just by talking to people. Howard also taught me that, like, just by talking to people, you have no idea what their interests are. So usually in a professional setting, I start with like my goals and my interests, so you like understand like where you are, and then for them to understand. And you also ask them the same question to understand where they are. So you can just gauge like possibly possible mentors as well.
Great, great. Are there existing mentorship programs that you know of that focus on clinical trial diversity, Carrington?
Not necessarily. So it's like Cobb Institute, there's Cobb Scholars, and yeah, I'm kind of one of them technically in a way. So nothing too specific necessarily.
What about you, London? Do you know of any specific mentorship programs that focus on clinical trial diversity?
Clinical trial diversity? No. I just know about the Cobb Institute and the Cobb Scholars. Yeah. When it comes to just clinical trials.
Yeah.
They're the ones to do it, honestly.
Okay. Excellent. We think so. Can you share a story about a mentor who helped you understand the importance of diversity in clinical trials, London?
I would honestly say, so currently I'm a third year and I'm on rounds, and so going through each specialty. And so my first specialty was internal medicine. And just being in that environment and seeing how a lot of us were in that hospital suffering, finding out about their conditions too late. And so my preceptor, he said, his name is Dr. Okay, he said, you have to look at, more than just the person, just with the number. Like, you see them on the bed, you have to treat them as a person, as an individual. And that is why we need more of us, and more of us doing the research, more of us doing as physicians to really take care of our people.
Outstanding. And Carrington, can you share a story about a mentor who helped you understand the importance of clinical trial diversity?
So I received guidance from my academic advisor / professor, Dr. Paskalev at Howard University. So we have to write a thesis that we have to defend in order to graduate. And so she exposed me to a talk that she was doing about the importance of AI and how it can create bias within clinical research trials. And she's like, oh, here's a conference that I'm actually going to speak at. And so that provided additional resources for my paper. And then she also connected me to Ms. Gonzalez, who works at the center connected to Howard University, and then, the health fair as well. So
Great. Good. Okay. So I'm going to put you on the spot. London, do you plan to be a mentor yourself?
Oh, yes. I love mentoring. I love mentoring because it's like I said, I've already done it. I took the MCAT 4 times. Like I know the struggle of the tears and the pain and me being first generation to go to college and pursue a professional degree. Like I didn't have any guidance or nowhere to go. So if I can reach back, give back, like that is such rewarding and it's a beautiful thing to do.
First generation. Tell us a little bit more about that. That's a lot of grit and perseverance. Where did that come from?
Oh, well, I always wanted to do the arts because I went to a performing arts school. So I wanted to do singing, acting. Like I was like, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. And then I went to the hospital because my dad was so dramatic. He was like, your hand is shaking. We need to take you to the MRI. It was negative, of course. But then I saw this kid who had IV, NG tube, like all this stuff in a wheelchair. And he was just smiling. And I said, ooh, I want to do that. And then ever since then, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get there. I don't know what I got to do, but I'm going to do it. And so I just tried to do research. I looked up things like, okay, so what do I need to do to get in medical school? Or what grade should I have? Or this and that. And of course you fall, but the beauty about it is that you get back up. And so, and for each fall that I tripped and landed on my face, I was like, okay, I know now not to do that again. Or, okay, let's avoid that pothole. Let's do this. And so, life is all about lessons. And so as I've gone through this journey, I've just took what I went through and just continued to grow. And then like going back to my village, like my dad always said that I'll get them in. And my mom was like, and I'll keep her in. So my mom was like, even though she didn't go to college, my dad didn't go to college, they regretted it so much, but they used what they could do, like the resources that they had, the knowledge that they had to help me and push me to get to where I am today.
Incredible. Wow. Carrington, same question for you. Do you plan to be a mentor?
Okay. I technically will be a mentor when I get back to DC because actually my teacher from high school contacted me about a student that is attending Howard. So we graduated from the same high school, basically. He's just like, oh, he'll be at Howard. Can you talk to him about how to like get out of his room and like talk to people and like make connections at Howard and how historic it is and like how much you can learn from there? I'm like, of course, because I struggled like mostly through my college career. So I don't want someone else to do that. So I feel like I can provide advice. Also for my cousin, she's entering her junior year of high school. So I want to give her some advice as well. So like some of the trip ups and mess ups that I've had, I can provide advice on how to avoid that, or just how to do better. So yeah, I'm definitely open to it. So Dr. Stevens, what's your experience with being a mentor and how did you come into being a mentor?
Great question, Carrington. I started out as a mentor at the University of Central Florida. They had an undergraduate program where we would shadow other undergraduates further along in their academic career. And then we also, if you participate in the program, then became a mentor. And so really there was this cycle of mentor mentee. And then when you got into your specialization, you also were paired with someone if you wanted to continue in the program. And so really, even as an alum, I continued in the mentor program in hospitality and in business, because again, why let someone go through all the things if they, it's a learning experience, but the struggle doesn't have to be a solo struggle. So I enjoyed watching them grow and develop. And then as I went through my career, I always found myself in a position of mentoring. I enjoy teaching others what I know, not just teaching them what they need to know. I want them to have the same knowledge and even surpass me if and when possible. It's exciting to look around the world and look back over almost 3 decades of mentees and see them just doing their own thing, from small businesses to working internationally to teaching themselves. So it's very, very rewarding and just necessary to pay it forward.
Oh, that's so awesome. So, asking you this question, how do you believe mentors can help bridge the gap between researchers and diverse communities to encourage participation?
I think with exposure, I think because, like, to your point, they've been through it, it's their responsibility to look for the common ground. As Carrington mentioned at one point, being aware of AI, being aware of topics of interest, and really proactively making recommendations of things that you should do. It's really just open communication and an awareness and a proactiveness to fostering all of those bridges. I think it's their responsibility to do that. I often say, even when I'm speaking or and in some sort of engagement, I say, if you can reach out to me, I put my personal number out there because I don't want to presume, you might already have a mentor or some. So I say, if you want to speak with me, you can reach out to me. But yes, I believe there are a lot of people who want to mentor and don't really know the direction to go. I believe sometimes there's that fear of the time commitment. And it's really just to support, be there when you need them, or just send them an email with recommendations, book ideas, podcasts to listen to, AI articles. I think there's this, uniformity idea what mentorship looks like. And it really is just a line of support.
Yeah. What word of advice would you give to somebody who wants to enter mentoring and also who wants to be a mentee?
I think, to your point, being a mentee first, being just reaching out, leaving that note, sending that email, it doesn't fall into the darkness. Someone's going to hear it. So I think definitely asking, just continuing to ask, coming to these conferences, right? So, and walking around and looking at the program and finding who you want to speak to and picking out their faces, and going up to them. And for a mentor, I'd almost say the same. If you see someone that has promise, or you see someone that's struggling, or someone that needs help, or that person that might be shy sitting in the corner at a networking event and is younger, going up to them and asking them how their journey is. And I think as we go along in our careers, obviously we are proud as well of what we've accomplished, but we have to constantly look for others to bring along with us who might not be getting the attention. And so as mentors, we have to keep our eyes open. So we have to network, we have to grow, but we also have to keep our eyes open for those that need the same.
When I did a healthcare internship right before college, I gave them cards. Well, they were doctors. So I was like, I'm not gonna give you a gift card. Like, I ain't got a job, like, like, you don't need my money. Like, so I just gave them cards telling them what I've learned from them. And then I also kept in contact with the nephrologist. And she even came up to Howard a couple times. She's like, I heard you were struggling. Like, my mom connects to everyone I connect to because she's one of them. She's like, I need to know who you're talking to. Like, who are these people? And so I also encourage people that I know to meet her. She's great. She's very supportive. So yeah, so I just gave them little cards telling them what I learned and what I appreciate about them.
Yeah, I would agree. Like, I think the words, because they know that, okay, you don't got it. You don't got it like how I got it. So I think it's like the words, just knowing that what they're doing is impacting you, because they can be doing all these things and you're just like, oh, they're the worst. And so, but just knowing that they're actually doing what they set out to do, I feel, as what makes a mentor feel appreciated, and knowing that, okay, we're doing something good here. All right, we're on the right path.
Absolutely. As a mentor, I think my favorite moments are just years later, when I get that text message that says, I didn't like you 5 years ago, but I get it now. And thanks. I still get them, oh, I just met someone that has your same energy and passion, and she's so awesome. And now I totally respect it. And I'm looking to be a mentor, or how do I help my mentee, and all of this. And again, sometimes they are years later. So, but it's still fun. It's wonderful to see and to read. So I agree. I concur. Words matter.
Yes.
Do you have any final words, London?
My final words are, no matter what life throws at you, keep going. And it's the beauty of like connecting and building with people, because you just never know where it could take you. Because like we said, closed mouths don't get fed.
Beautiful. Carrington, any final thoughts?
It's kind of similar to what London says. Sometimes it's like the stubborn thing that you don't want to do that could lead to your transformation. So I truly believe like getting out of yourself, like, and putting your pride aside to actually open up and be honest with yourself and being able to talk to other people can take you very far, because relationships really do matter.
Indeed. Absolutely. Well, thank you both for joining us today for this podcast episode of Cobb and Company. It's been a delight and a pleasure to have you both as part of the Cobb Institute on site here at the NME annual meeting.
Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.